Welcome everybody. We have the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge here in front of the lens and also on the table the S7, which both I had for exactly 2 months. I got them on March 8 from Samsung to review and I have to send them back. Actually, I had to send them back a lot earlier than I'm sending them back now, but I just love them so much that I wanted to just keep them and continue working with them. So we can see here is the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge in my hand, which is my daily driver for the last 2 months, and I will tell you in a second why it's my daily driver, why it's my favorite phone, and we will start off with 3 things that I love about the phone, and we will continue with a few things that are bad or not that great about the phone for this price, and also some comparison with the S6 Edge, some tips how you can, for example, make the battery life a little better, even though it's the phone with the best battery life I had up until now. If you ask me, also the S7 has the exact same aspect as the S7 Edge, so it is the same best in category for camera, for battery, for all the things I will mention for the S7 Edge. But I've just been using obviously just one phone for the last 2 months, not both of them, so don't mind if I don't mention the S7 as much, because I know a lot of people just like the design here better because they don't like the Edge display for some reason, which I actually love. That's why I had the S6 Edge also last year as that revolutionary new phone. So what you can see here is the phone being on, but I actually want to show you a lot more about the design in the beginning, about the outside part, and just a lot about what Samsung could do better. So first of all though, we will start off 3 things that Samsung did great on this phone. One is the camera. Front camera amazing, back camera even more amazing. It's not sticking out that much anymore. It shoots 4K video brilliantly, not only in daylight but also in low light, and it's just amazing how good the camera is with a single flashlight. It's also quite good, but I usually never use a flash, and also the finger heart rate sensor here is something that I would never use. Why we have, for example, here in the back this little dent, or just, it's not a scratch, but I don't even know how you call it, a gap maybe, or some, yeah, I don't know, line on the back cover, I will tell you in a second. But first, that was the best thing about the phone is the camera. The second best is, as I mentioned, the battery, which is not the second best right now because we are at 7%, but it can be explained why it's at 7%, and I can definitely tell you this is the phone, the Android phone at least, with which one I had the best battery experience for a long time, except for the BlackBerry Priv, which was also really good in battery life, but that's a little bit thicker, bigger, and different phone than the Samsung Galaxy S7 or S7 Edge. So amazing battery life, amazing camera, and the third thing that I love is just that it's waterproof. You maybe people that have watched my videos for a longer time than the last 5 years, they know that my favorite phones are usually by Sony because the battery is really good, the cameras are also good, and they're waterproof. Now Samsung has also waterproof phone. Again, this is not the first one, but this one is waterproof in a way that Sony did before, so you don't have any plugs and it just works, and it's really great in that matter for me to use to watch movies or series in the shower. I love to watch my series in the shower or just while I'm in the kitchen, for example, and it's just fun that you can just wash it off, the flour, for example, off the screen, or anything else, which is really awesome. You would never do that with another phone, like for example my S6 Edge, you would not dare to do just to wash anything off of it. You would have to professionally clean it, and here you can just wash it off, which is quite awesome. Also watching or doing something in the rain while walking the street, there's no not bad at all. But obviously, since we have now this little dent or a scratch or just broke, whatever on the back, you can see it won't, or it is actually not that waterproof anymore that I would take it underwater to demonstrate to you guys that it still works, but in the shower it has been still working since. So 3 things that are awesome I just mentioned, and let's continue now with some parts that are not that great. Let me refocus the camera so you can see really up close in 4K that, for example, just the quality of the material is maybe still not perfect because we just have a lot of scratches and dents still on the phone itself. You can see them hopefully quite nicely here in the beginning of the video with just these scratches and dents, which I also have on my Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge. But I have used this also in the first 1 month without cover, and any protection, so it actually should look like this. So the S7 was on the bottom, not used at all. It was just always with me, but not in my pocket. It was in my bag and nice and safe. And you can see clearly the difference between how scratches went on. And also on the top you can see here, for example, this little dent, which is obviously also not that nice if you would, for example, want to resell it. And then we always see here some, for example, also color problems, like for example with the camera. You can see here the color came off a little bit, and even more color came off here on the front. When you look at the grill of the speaker, it should look like this, completely black or one color, but I have this silver rim around it, which is definitely not normal. So when you check out the bottom part though, that's the last thing that got scratches, the fingerprint reader. Now that's a thing that I would be afraid of fingerprints, because you maybe can't in a year open up your phone anymore with your finger when the fingerprint scanner is scratched. I don't know if you can see this clearly, but I try to show to you that there is some scratches there, which are definitely not there. Usually when you get the phone as a brand new phone, you can see it here on the S7, which I just put on top, that there's no scratches there, and here you can definitely see some scratches. And I never used this, actually I I never used this with keys or any other metal objects in my pocket. Sometimes there were other phones in my pocket, so they were pushing on this home button, which I actually still hate by Samsung, that it sticks out. With Apple, for example, it's on the inside of the phone, and it never gets pressed in my pocket. Here this gets pressed all the time, and when it's pressed, the display is on and it does crazy stuff, like for example open up the camera, keeps the camera on even though it's dark in my pocket, and so on, which is quite annoying for me. So these are the bad things, almost, except for I have to tell you the story how I broke the back glass cover. So that happened because I showed my friend the VR demo, so just some VR things on the glasses, which you probably all got for free also when you were in the first few thousand that ordered the Samsung phone. So that's something that you would do regularly. But I wanted to show him, obviously, also after he was finished playing or doing something for 10-15 minutes, and after the phone got a little bit warm. So obviously the phone is always getting a little bit warm when you will use the VR, because it has to do a lot of processing. What happened is I put it into the water, or put it under tap water. So I was showing him, yeah, it's waterproof, and he's like, no, hell no, don't do this with your phone. And he didn't know about the Sony phones that have been waterproof for the last 3 years. But anyhow, so I showed him that it's waterproof, and it was amazing to him, and I was happy, and everything was awesome, until at night or in the evening I looked at the back and was wondering what the hell just happened here, and I didn't know what this was from. But I talked to a few friends of mine the last few weeks, and other owners of the S7 or S7 Edge had the same problem, that when the phone was a little bit warm, after a while it happened, when they use it afterwards in water, or just put it in water, that this crack on the back would happen. Now I found the word, it's crack. So that's something that you should keep in mind. Buy cases, buy display protection foils. Maybe actually there's not really scratches so much on the display themselves. You can see it here, I cleaned it up quite nicely. There's not really scratches inside, or none that you would see right away, but watch out for warm phones and cold water. So the next thing is obviously battery life. You can see now I have 6%. And let me just turn down the brightness a little bit so you guys can see it better. Here outside where I'm shooting this video, and you can see here this little fella helping me a little bit with entertainment for you guys. So what's definitely awesome is about the phone, the battery life is amazing. But let me show you why I don't have that great battery life today, because actually today I was getting up at 7 in the morning, and since 7 in the evening, I know it's a little bit later now, we are at this phone at 15%, and since then I'm not using it only to shoot videos like this, and I'm usually chatting on the S6 Edge, which is blinking in the background. So let's go to battery under settings, and you will see here that under battery usage it tells us when we use it the same way as before, we will have 1 hour of battery life left. So that's essentially nothing if you ask me, but we could go into power saving mode or ultra power saving mode, where we obviously have a little bit of help to preserve the power, which we will not do right now, obviously, since I want to show you the battery usage, what is really the fault that the battery died since 7 in the morning till 7 in the evening. You can see it here. It was going always rapidly down till here, and then since then I'm doing the reviews here in the end when it's a little bit steadier. Even though we are only in Wi-Fi, we have no location, no Bluetooth, no mobile data, no nothing on here. You can see everything is quite awesome. So let's see here, we have Facebook, screen and Android system. Those are the main three things that need the most battery. So let's go into the Facebook and you will see that we have 2 hours and 46 minutes of CPU total, which is really quite a lot to be on Facebook. And it's not actually the time I was on Facebook, that's below that, 70 minutes. That's how long I was browsing and doing stuff on there, obviously for my work or other things. But it's not really that much, and that needs almost a quarter of the power, 22% here in this case. Then if you go into the screen, you will see we have here 15%, which is only 2 hours and 12 minutes of the whole day. So other people tell me they can last up to 5 hours, 6 hours with their screen on and doing stuff with this phone. Today, because of Facebook, my battery is dying and it's only at 2 hours and 12 minutes. And actually, a reason you should maybe just delete Facebook or use it differently is because you can still use it in the browsers. If you are logged in a browser, have always a tab open with just facebook.com and do your stuff there. It works almost the same way. It's obviously not as pretty as the app itself, but you won't have to sacrifice this much battery life. So with the Android system menu, you will see that obviously Android is running for quite a while. It's managing a lot of things like the cell, which is also in the bottom. It says cell standby 4%, but the Android system is obviously managing all the features that run in the background, like NFC, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and so on and so on. And what we'll also check out is here voice calls. Obviously I had voice calls for 1.5 hours, so obviously I talk a lot with companies, with family members and other people. And then we go to Android OS, which is also the same thing again, that it's just something you need and you can turn off. And then the next things are again stuff that you would use every day, like for example for chatting I use the Messenger. Then I listen to a little bit of music, which is 6% and only 45 minutes of listening to music, which is again way too much, especially since at least I wasn't actually only listening to music for 45 minutes but over 2 hours, but most of that was over Bluetooth and while I was playing basketball outside. So that's why we have also 3% Bluetooth here, but usually that would be also virtually nothing. So what also needed some power is cell standby and Google services and the Gmail. That's because actually I'm probably connected to the Google phone, the Android phone, and that's just not doing the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge any good. That you just have some apps in the background always looking for and pinging for things over, like for example your Google Wear app here for this device. And that's what actually you will find out if you go to more and you will say, okay, I want to optimize my battery life so it runs just longer. Here the Samsung Galaxy S7 will tell you right away, maybe don't use Android Wear as much. So that's quite interesting to hear. Yeah, otherwise, the phone is really quite fast. You guys know that it's one of the fastest phones in the world in terms of benchmarking. There were great numbers. For me, I never had problems much, except for a few times. Maybe the phone restarted in the last 2 months in the terms of it just turned off itself while I was, for example, playing Relic Run or just opening up an app. The phone not only crashed out to the home menu but completely restarted itself in the last 2 months 2 or 3 times as far as I remember. But otherwise you can see now the screen is on and we are doing stuff. The 6% battery life is still at the same spot. So except for that it restarts sometimes and sometimes it lags, you can definitely easily overcome that by just restarting your phone by yourself every few weeks. And also a big thank you to Samsung, since I had the same problem with the Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge in terms of battery life. They told me after a really big update, like for example on this one we have now Android 6.0 running, before we had 5.1 running, and my battery life really dropped a lot on the 6.0. They told me that you should definitely reset your phone, delete all the apps, delete all or take out all the pictures and the SIM card and everything. You have the possibility now here with this device on the microSD, and just take out everything and reset everything and then reinstall the apps, since the apps just use power more and differently when you have a complete new system as an update just coming in. So Google is not perfect yet in upgrading their systems, sadly, and the developers are also working probably in a way that you wouldn't have to do that. But it was really good tips. It's why S6 Edge is really just running since then a lot better. Not as great as still in battery life as the S7 Edge, but that's again something I'm just amazed by how good the battery life can be if you use it right. So that's my first impression after 2 months with a really beautiful phone here, the S7 or the S7 Edge. Both have the same amazing features in terms of battery, camera, and waterproofness, and just gaming, for example. Also, if you would do that a lot more, or I would do that a lot more, I would tell you about that more. But till then, my name is Balaj. I hope you liked this video and all the flaws and also all the good parts about the phone. Till next time, please, and again, thank you much for watching and see you guys around.